We are live.
I'm going to call to order the December 3rd, 2025 Eugene Intergovernmental Relations Committee meeting. My name is Randy Groves. I'm Eugene City Councilor for Ward 8, which is West Southwest Eugene, and I am the chair of the IGR committee. Next order of business after calling the meeting to order is agenda review and minutes review. First of all, are there any changes to the agenda? Not seeing any changes to the minutes that we were to review? I'm not seeing any. Is there a motion to review the minutes for November 5th, 2025?
So moved, Chair.
It's been moved by Councilor Evans, seconded by Councilor Yeh. All in favor, raise your hand. I think that's unanimous. Yeah. I see a wrist.
Yeah, it's
Hey, so
popping up.
Thank you. That passed unanimously. Third item on the agenda is discuss 2026 legislative session. Let's start with 3A, 2026 draft priorities discussion. Ethan.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Groves. This document hasn't been changed since you saw it in October and November. And so it's still moving forward and it outlines the city's top priorities. The last time we discussed it in November, it had numbers and we moved to just having bullets. So it doesn't give a numerical, any type of prioritization, but these are all different priorities. So the first bullet is being able to protect OHCS statewide shelter program funding. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Same with the second one. I'll give updates on all of these. Protecting the $6 million in lottery bond allocation for Clear Lake Road infrastructure. Support increased protections related to threats to public officials. Support state federal financial support for Eugene Airport expansion. And I may change that to say seek state and federal financial support for Eugene Airport expansion. The fifth bullet, support increased state investment in behavioral health issues and systems. And then the last one is support statewide property tax reform, specifically on Representative Nathanson's impacts ballot measure 5 and 50 bill that has a task force process that she's more than likely going to get up and running after the short session. So there's been no changes to those. Turn back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Ethan. Questions from the IGR committee members? Greg, Jennifer, anything?
I think it's good.
I think we're good. Okay.
And so can I get a vote to say that because what we'll do is then these will become the package to council in middle of January. I apologize for not bringing that up.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the draft 2026 Eugene State legislative priorities?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Evans. We have a motion from Councilor Evans. Do we have a second?
Yeah, second.
We have a second from Councilor Yeh. There's only one left. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it passes unanimously. Now, can we move on to item 3B?
Yep. And so this one is our policy document. And as you remember, or you may recall from the November meeting, we walked through every single one and you gave me feedback on changes that I had recommended and presented. And I took all of those, I incorporated them on in, and this is then the cleaned up version. I do have a legislative version that I'll hold for if it's necessary to bring that back to council during the work session. But for right now, we just got this clean version of the reviewed one. And in this case as well, seeking a vote to approve. The one item that I do want to call your attention to, there's two items that I'll call your attention to. After the meeting, or at the last November meeting, there was feedback from the members to incorporate in some updates to the economic development items. And so what I spent time with the City of Eugene's Economic Development Manager, Ann Fifield, and we wordsmithed some of these. And so specifically on number 2, we added advanced manufacturing, and we reworded it so Eugene supports bioscience and advanced manufacturing as regional economic drivers and supports state and federal funding investments to advance local initiatives. And so that really provides a much broader focus. And then the 5th one, number 5, we added after feedback from the committee of Eugene supports state and federal infrastructure investments for economic development. Very broad, but allows us a lot of latitude for advocacy at the state and federal level. Good. Any questions on OB? And then I'll move on to the only other revision that we have in the document that was not reviewed last meeting.
Okay, are there questions? Welcome, Mayor. We are on agenda item 3B.
Thank you.
Not seeing any.
Okay, so on to, and this is at the top of page 3 under the land use section. If you recall, we had a discussion about the voluntary annexation bill and the proposed bill. And we said, well, council's going to have this conversation on the, I think it was the 12th of November. And planning director Alyssa Hanson brought the issue on up, and there was this discussion. I listened intently. What I heard was there was not direction from council, but there wasn't any vocal opposition to the concept of supporting a bill. And so with that in mind, Alyssa and I crafted, and I think what we'll do is on number 9, it says Eugene supports statewide policy that is permissive of voluntary annexation of non-contiguous properties within an existing urban growth boundary. I think it's okay to just strike the statewide and just say Eugene supports policy that is permissive. And if that, so that would be the revised and the new addition based upon what council discussed and what we as staff picked up to say, here, this should be a pathway that aligns with the discussion that council had on that work session.
I apologize. I didn't realize you were looking for a motion. Was that in the AIS? I missed it.
No, we were not looking for a motion.
Oh, okay.
We had talked about it, and City Manager Maderi had said, yeah, let's just have a discussion. And so in that, we were really just kind of listening to see where's the majority of council really going to land, and if we can craft something that's going to be clean enough that we can provide support at the legislature, but also taking cue from council.
Yeah, if I don't see a motion, I'm probably not going to make one myself.
Right. And so those are the only things. And so if there's any comments, questions, but again, we would take, if you adopt this today, this will then become what we take to council for adoption and the January 21st work session.
Are there
Ethan,
questions?
could you speak a little louder because I can't hear you. You're going in and out on me.
Yes, Councilor Evans. If you adopt this version of the policy document, then this will be what moves forward to the City Council work session that is scheduled for January 21st.
Okay, I got it now.
Are there questions from committee members or the mayor?
Nope.
Okay, no questions. That concludes that issue. Why don't we move on to
We
agenda?
need to adopt.
Oh, excuse me. Yes. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved to adopt.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Evans. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilor Ye. Common theme today. All in favor, raise your hands, please. All right.
All there.
Okay, moving on to the next item.
Yes, item 3C, please.
Okay, so this is in the middle of November. There was legislative days. I was up in Salem all 3 days, working various angles and gathering a lot of different information. as you may recall from previous sessions, every week I send out an IGR priority bill update. So we're getting a fresh start early on. And so this is a pre-session priority one bill update with what I know to be kind of the lay of the land related to policy initiatives that will be moving forward in the short session. And so, as in previous years, the first part is the priorities. And so under here would be proposed Eugene priorities. Once we get into now that you've adopted them and council adopts them, I would then strike the proposed and just have it Eugene priorities. But, and I'll just walk through those right now.
Are we looking at this?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be the memo from December 3rd, 2026 Legislative Priority 1 pre-session draft. So the first bullet, protect OHCS shelter program funding. So the shelter funding, the governor requested 2.5 and 2.5, like two tranches of 2.5% budget cuts for all of the departments and agencies. And for OHCS, Oregon Housing Community Services, which is where the shelter program funding is. Do you have a copy of that?
I don't believe I do.
It says in.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, I don't have one.
And so that's where the shelter program is within OHCS. During hearings, budgetary hearings, or in some of the Ways and Means subcommittees, OHCS provided proposed programs to cut if there is a reduction that's needed, and the shelter program is not included in that. So right now it's very, very clean. I'll take a step back and say that during legislative days, the economic forecast came back, and there was an improvement from the previous quarter's forecast. And so that now I think the general fund gap is roughly around 63 million. The kind of there's some working assumptions that by the next revenue forecast, which is going to come out in January, that we may get caught up so that then the forecast for the existing biennium balances on out, and there may not need to be additional cuts within the current biennium. We'll see how that happens.
And this is above and beyond the carve out, or not carve out, but the additional funding for ODOT. It doesn't take that into consideration.
It's a good question. I believe that
My concern is if it goes before the voters, which it sounds like they have the votes, and it fails, what are we going to do to maintain our infrastructure?
Yeah, so a good question and good comment. What was in the news yesterday is that the governor said that if the petition, if all of the signatures for the referendum are approved and the petition is put up, then she would immediately pause any funding that goes to ODOT from those measures. And so within this biennium, there would be a gap for transportation. But the thing is that those dollars are separate from, because they're highway fund dollars, and they are statutorily, constitutionally set to go towards highway road improvements, which would be separate. So you would have a gap within those programs that would need to be filled, potentially from the general fund or from reserves. But what we're talking about right now is the forecasted gap within this current biennium that would be impacting the general fund. And so if the next quarter, Q1 forecast in 2026 continues on the trend for improvement, then there may not be a gap that needs to be filled by agency cuts. Or it could be that the legislature pulls out of reserves and holds harmless the agencies. That's to be determined, but it'll all come, we'll get more and more information closer and closer to the legislative session.
Ethan, has there anything been discussed about backfilling with e-board funds?
Councilor Evans, there was $100 million that had been allocated to the e-board for the this current biennium, and my assumption is that those that e-board allocation would be part of however the governor proposes to balance the budget if there is a need for that. She would.
That would essentially be closed by putting e-board funds back into the general fund.
Potentially. I mean, I would
And not going to the transportation fund.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think that it could be that e-board funding is set aside for during the biennium if there are emergencies, and so one could ostensibly, argue that the maintaining our transportation system is
an emergency. That part I get. I just didn't know from what pool that they were going to pull that from e-board funds or general fund reserves. Because if we take our reserve level down, then that affects our ability to borrow down the line.
Yeah, and my sense is that what the governor and the ODOT is really looking at doing is to say, okay, if there's not the adequate funds, then there's going to be a reduction in force and a reduction in services to balance that budget. So
layoffs and cuts in service.
Okay, I'll keep moving. The next bullet. There are no discussions currently that related to lottery bond allocations for the 2027 bond sale. So I think that that discussion has not surfaced. So I think we'll be okay there. The next one, support increased protections related to threats to public officials. It was. Did you ever read the Family Circus cartoon? So that was my journey through the Capitol on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it was successful though because we found a home for the threats to public officials bill. Senator Brzezinski is going to be running a public safety omnibus out of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he agreed to put in the -5 amendment to Senate Bill 473 that he and Chair Kropf agreed to at the end of last session. And so that's on the House side, House Judiciary Chair, Representative Kropf. And so we're taking that and then incorporating that as the threats to public officials component part of that public safety omnibus. So we'll be tracking that. The fourth bullet, support state and federal financial support for Eugene Airport expansion. There are likely no opportunities for seeking state funding during the short legislative session based upon all of the other issues. What related to federal financial support, there may be opportunities to seek funding now that some of the FAA at the federal level, the FAA rules have been revised that allow for some of our contractual provisions to maybe move forward. So we're taking a look at that and seeing if there's a pathway for us to advocate at the federal level, either for an earmark or if there's grant dollars that we would be seeking in the future. And so I'll be coming back to you with that as we figure out what that looks like with updates in the next few months.
We're still thinking we're okay on what it's even called now, the loyalty test, the federal government.
I think so. That was what I was. The FAA.
Oh, that is that. Okay.
The FAA came out with some. Well, excuse me, DOT, and I think FAA included in that. And so we're cautiously navigating.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say yes, totally. We're in the clear to go after new monies, but it's more favorable than it has been.
Right. I apologize.
That's right.
Didn't connect those two.
On the fifth bullet, increased state investment in behavioral health systems. I'm working with Lane County really to narrow down what they're going to be going after related to community corrections that is tangentially related to behavioral health, but also there's just a lot of moving pieces related to the impacts of HR1, Medicaid, Medicare changes, what's happening with the CCOs. And so I spend time with Lane County really trying to identify what are your areas that you're going to be prioritizing and how can we then support those. So as we get closer to the session, I'll have more clarity to, put bullets under here to say, here's the items that would fulfill our support for investments in the BH system. And then just the last one, as I shared earlier, there are likely no opportunities for property tax reform policy discussions during the short session. After that, Representative Nathanson will be picking up her task force on the impacts of 5 and 50. So we'll keep working on that. Any questions on those priorities, on the kind of updates on those?
Questions from the committee? I'm not seeing any, Mayor.
Just want to maybe it's a bit of a rhetorical question, but thinking for those following along at home and the number of issues that we just discussed. Resolution of funding for our transportation system is one large question mark that is presented. The short legislative session, this being the off year, likely to be focused almost entirely on navigating the holes in the budget, and not a lot of large new areas of work coming forward. Are you seeing any other bills or initiatives statewide that would be seen as forward leaning as opposed to protection as the primary verb, or sustain in terms of the actions?
Yes, and I can address a couple of those in the list down below in terms of our priority 1 legislative concepts. And so there are a couple related to economic development that I think that fit in that forward-looking investments versus protection and filling budget holes. So I can talk to that. I do know that there's going to be a lot of related to the tax disconnect and the tax connect. There will be a lot of complicated conversations that are going to happen across the House and the Senate, and either in Senate revenue and finance and taxation, or in House revenue. Additionally, there's going to be economic development conversations that have to do with tax incentives, but will be in other committees. So I'll touch on those. But I think that the big issues that are going to be discussed are going to take up a lot of focus are going to be balancing the budget without a lot of service reductions, understanding how to keep providing quality health care for folks as premiums increase, and also services are reducing. That'll be the big one, healthcare and the revenue areas, and then economic development, I think, and some issues that the governor is really interested in related to prosperity. So, and I can talk a little bit more about that. Okay, Councilor Groves, okay to keep moving on?
Yes, please.
So into the next section are these priority 1 legislative concepts. And as a review, what we really look at as priority 1 are major policy issues or funding issues that will have a direct impact on the city of Eugene, either financially or policy-wise, and or have been identified by IGR or council as items of interest and concern that we want to take. So that's what is incorporated. During the short legislative session, legislators are restricted to be, or they can only have 2 bills, and committees can only have 3 bills. So it really keeps the number of bills that are introduced and running through the system in 45 days manageable. And so that's nice, but it also restricts anything. And as I talked about with the public safety omnibus, there's going to be a bunch of different concepts that are going to be stuffed into there. It may not all fall where there may be things in there that we oppose, but we also approve. So we'll navigate that as well. There is a voluntary annexation bill. Representative Fragola is moving forward that again, provides permissive authority to cities to allow non-contiguous properties within an existing UGB to voluntarily annex into a city. And so this is what just adopted a policy position on. Have not seen the bill language yet. And so in terms of recommending, I would recommend it as a priority one because of the interest from council, and it is one of our local legislators, but we'll wait to recommend the position until the draft language is released. And so once we get that draft language, staff will review it, and we may come back to say we need to revise it. We want to, we would recommend a support with revisions. Or once we read it, it might just be support. So once we get that, we'll update that, and hopefully in the January IGR meeting, we'll have that for you. Moving on, and so just please interrupt me if you want to talk about any of these. So HB 3115 repeal. This is going to be a bill. City Council took a position on January 29th that was in opposition of any repeal of HB 3115. And so my work to date has been to oppose any bills that are going to be moving forward on that. And then we'll oppose them if and when they come forward. So that's the work that I've been doing pre-session, and we'll continue.
How do you feel that's shaking out?
I think that there will be a bill. I do not think it will get out of committee unless it's put into a supportive committee, but I do not believe that legislative leadership has any interest in moving forward. Okay, next page 2. Automatic license plate reader regulations, ALPR. And so this bill concept, it was discussed at Senate Judiciary Committee. Chair Przansky asked Chief Skinner to testify about the City of Eugene's use of ALPR and also City Council's discussion and direction to the City Manager. Chair Przansky is initiating a pre-session work group to develop the legislative concept and has asked Chief Skinner to participate in that effort. My recommendation is as a priority one, but again, we'll wait to recommend a position until draft language is released. Just to be mindful, will also be within that public safety omnibus. And so I'm going to be tracking all of those, and hopefully they'll have language that aligns with where City Council is moving towards. But my assumption is that once that comes on up, we'll bring it back to this group, and this group may want to incorporate in a larger discussion with City Council. So we'll keep navigating that and keeping you informed as we get more information.
Normally I'm a home rule guy, but I really appreciate the state taking this one on. It just seems fraught with problems to have each community handling this differently.
And in my discussions with Chair Przansky on this, it was really, are there changes to the state's procurement rules that then we adopt at the local level and that many municipalities do that would provide that guidance related to how agencies write the contracts related to sharing of data and everything else. So
good.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is there any, or maybe just to report back if you learned this through the process of that discussion, interface between conversation about these technologies and Oregon's consumer protection laws? Because what I understand is that our consumer protection laws are some of the strongest privacy laws in the nation. I don't know if that is accurate. That's what have been told at different points in conversation, not related to this technology, but it is one of the questions I have.
Yeah, Mayor Knutson, I think a lot of that will come on out in the hearings on this topic. It will be robust discussion.
Thank you.
Understatement.
Yep. Okay, changes to serial communication policies by the Oregon Government Ethics Commission, so OGEC. The League of Oregon Cities has taken the lead on this item. The current initiative is to clarify current OGEC interpretations of state law that are problematic for many units of local government. Once bill language is released, we will determine the priority and position recommendation for the IGR committee to review. So OGEC, as the kind of administrative body that implements statute on government ethics, public meetings laws, have made some determinations in recent years that have become problematic for local governments. And so working on getting that revised in statute to be very clear directive to OGAC. So LSC is taking lead on that. It may be a priority too, and we just lend our logo. I wanted to put that on the list. Moving on, revision of the transient lodging tax revenue usage. And so LOC and other local governments are returning with House Bill 3962A from 2025, and which basically allows city and county services for which net local transient lodging tax revenue may be used to be provided either directly by the city or county or indirectly by a special district. Changes the division of allowable uses of net local transient lodging tax revenue from at least 70% for tourism-related expenses and no more than 30% for city and county services to at least 40% and no more than 60% respectively. Allows units of local government with restricted grandfathered local transient lodging tax regimes to take advantage of the new provisions of the Act, such as like Lake County. So I recommend, and this has been, I talked with Twyla Miller, our CFO, recommend as a priority one and support position to allow the city to have more flexibility in terms of the revenue that comes in from transient TRT, TLT to be utilized for predominantly the discussions in most local communities is around using it for public safety and or infrastructure. So. All right, moving forward. So Mayor, this next one, economic development package. This is really, I think, and we'll see what comes up because I think there's going to be kind of multiple different proposals, but there's the current proposal that is a collaboration between Oregon business and industries, the economic development agencies, LOC, a number of cities and counties, including but predominantly in the metro area, Washington County and City of Hillsborough, as moving forward on a economic development package. And it's kind of got three different component parts right now. The first part is enable industrial sites for advanced manufacturing, and so there'd be land use changes, and specifically expanding some UGBs within the metro communities that are looking to expand, specifically Hillsborough. But it would be a couple different land use changes that are in that package. Also looking at providing economic development incentives, and so looking at a research and development tax credit, capital equipment, property tax exemption and or deferral, and then also some enhancements to the enterprise zone legislation. And then the third part is targeting regulatory reform, targeted regulatory reform, specifically around permitting. And that could be either DEQ in terms of environmental statewide permitting and or local governments permitting. And so once bill language is released, determine the priority and position recommendation for the IGR community to review. What's going to be interesting about this is that there will be, I think, some of the economic development, or excuse me, some of the financial incentives may overlap with the tax disconnect. And so in one sense, there may be advocates that are saying we need these tax incentives that were passed at the federal level to be adopted and maintained at the state level to make us competitive and will generate investment. And at the same time, there will be opponents to some of those that say, yes, but those revenues go into our general fund and we have a gap in the general fund. And so I think that we're going to be navigating a lot of complex conversations and a variety of different committees in a very compressed, fast timeline. So I'm gathering as much information in advance, getting it to our staff members in both land use, in the planning department, community development, and making sure that we're as coordinated as possible and ready, kind of in the ready stance for when the legislative session starts. an autonomous vehicle regulatory concept. And so the bill has been came forward from the autonomous vehicle company Waymo, and it's likely going to be introduced in the House Transportation Committee, and or if they have a joint transportation committee between both chambers. Bill would create a statewide regulatory system for AV vehicles, and this is much like what we've seen when for PPV for passenger pay passenger vehicles and the apps for Uber and Lyft that we've seen in the past is that what gets introduced is a statewide blanket regulatory approach that then preempts local governments from any control. And they say, oh, well, you still have control over your licensing for taxis, but not for us. And so that's a local government, local control issue. And so the issue, there's some specific language in that we say, well, okay, there's some statewide issues for regulatory consistency, great, but local governments want to maintain the ability to set things such as standards, regulations, or fees on the technology. And so right now, I recommend a priority one oppose based upon council's adoption of local control and the ability to manage right of way, used to right of way. Okay. There's going to be a bill that comes on up. It was introduced last year, but it's the sale of craft cocktails outside of state-run liquor stores, and so basically allow craft cocktails to be sold where beer and wine are currently licensed for sale to the public. Again, once the bill language is released, determine the priority and position recommendation. The reason why I put it on here is that the way that it's being advocated and supported is the discussion is to say there would be an increase in revenue to the state for liquor taxes, and we, the city of Eugene and cities, get a share of liquor taxes that is part of our revenue streams as state share revenues. And so this potentially could increase the amount of state share revenue that would come to the city of Eugene.
You're not persuaded, counselor.
And so that's why I put this one on here, and we'll see where it goes from there. The opponents are obviously from the beer and wine industry that say there's not going to be any net increase in revenue. So why do this? Moving forward, the last page, there's a bill moving forward on a ban of speculative ticketing. In 2025, legislature passed 3167, which increased transparency in protecting consumers when purchasing event tickets. Bill prohibits the use of bots for event ticket sales and bans misleading marketing tactics, including the unauthorized and misleading use of venue logos, branding, or website names. Earlier versions of the bill contained speculative ticketing ban, and this and other pieces were taken out as part of negotiations with the secondary marketplaces. Bill for 2026 would ban speculative ticketing, protecting consumers and artists from deceptive ticketing practices. Also, big thing, I think I got information from Isaac Marquez, our cultural services director, and he said that the Holt Center lost roughly about $200,000 in the last year related to speculative ticketing practices. And so the recommended position is priority one support. It would allow us to not lose those dollars.
If you heard anything from the U of O on this, I would think this would be a big deal for them.
I have not. Metro's leading the bill, and they have the major. Metro has the zoo, and then a bunch of the kind of the Portland Five, these larger cultural institutions, and so the Holt Center sits in that. And but I'm assuming that the U of O, athletics, and at Night Arena and everything.
I would think UO, OSU, well, really all the schools would be concerned about this. But it'd be interesting to hear what their position is.
Yep.
Can I ask just a clarifying question?
Yeah.
How has that led to $200,000 in lost revenue at the Holt Center? Does it work? People are buying tickets that are fake tickets, or are purchasing I'm just curious.
It would seem if you're paying the ticket price.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the position and everything you just described. I'm just curious because obviously locally it's been impactful.
Well, I don't want to see our public fleeced either.
All right, I got the email.
Thank you, Ethan.
Here's what Isaac has shared with me. Speculative ticketing is widely regarded as a deeply deceptive practice. By allowing third-party sellers to advertise and sell tickets they do not actually possess, this practice creates a misleading and predatory marketplace that harms residents and visitors. It artificially inflates prices, exploits patrons, and induces consumers to purchase tickets under false or incomplete assumptions. For a municipality-owned venue like the Holt Center for the Performing Arts, speculative ticketing also creates direct financial exposure. In FY25 alone, the city absorbed approximately $200,523 in chargebacks tied to suspicious or unauthorized ticket transactions. While speculative sales are difficult to quantify precisely, this data point reflects the scale of the burden public venues are forced to carry.
Thank you.
So it's the chargeback piece on suspicious unauthorized ones. And I think that's probably in that kind of consumer protection that we want to make sure that we're maintaining venues systems. And then the last one, and this is a bill that Metro is also leading on, but we're supporting the battery extended producer responsibility. They put it forward as 2062, House Bill 2062 in 2025. And it's been a collaboration with the solid waste industry, local governments, and national battery producers. Represents a united effort to safeguard communities and infrastructure. Broad support, including the producers. And so we have a priority one support that aligns with our solid waste program goals and sustainability goals. And also Lane County is really kind of leads as the waste shed manager is really supportive of this one as well. So and what that is extended producer responsibility. It's kind of like paint care, e-cycles, mattress recycling. So you pay a small fee on the front end. That money then gets directed to recyclers here in local communities. And so when you take your materials to go get recycled, you drop it off and they've got a revenue stream that allow them to recycle and responsibly and end of life of the products. So that's it for me in regards to what seeing as, and more than likely there'll be some stuff added as we get closer and when the section opens on up. But those would be kind of what we're working on.
Great. Thank you, Ethan. Are there questions from the IGR committee or the mayor? I'm not seeing any. Is there anything going on at the state right now talking about clean lane?
I believe Councilor Groves that there had been a bill last year related to land use provisions for clean lane. I think that with the county currently, it's less about the land use provision. I can't speak directly about what the issues. I think it's been stalled. I don't know if they're going to come back for an issue that would be at the legislative level this year. So I had a quick conversation with Steve Adams. He brought up clean lane, but we'll see what happens.
I'm just curious about that. If you do hear anything, it'd be nice to hear back on. And then I recognize that HB 2000 or 2062 is regarding batteries. So I'm assuming there's nothing in there that would weaken the problems we've had with metal theft, some of the enforcing the state law like it's supposed to be enforced. There's nothing that would weaken that law.
I can take a look into it. I believe so.
Just want to be sensitive on that because I know we made some really good inroads by eliminating the economic incentive. Metal theft is way down in our community when it was pretty much an epidemic proportions there for a while, and it was really harming residents and businesses alike.
Yeah, my sense is that with the EPR style programs is that there is no, when you drop off, there's no transfer of funds. And so when you pay for something, so when you buy a mattress, you pay a fee because it's in Oregon. That fee then goes to a third party handler that then distributes that money based upon, my assumption is that based upon the number of mattresses that the recycler manages. And then same with e-cycles and like paint care, you just go drop off your paint.
Yep.
And they take it, and there's a fee when you buy new paint that then goes on in to fund that. So there's no cash payment for the materials as they come in. So I think when there's a metal recycler, that was the issue.
Okay, yeah, so well, they weren't requiring ID or they were just handing cash back rather than paying by check. And there was
No
nothing,
contract.
there was nothing that provided any level of tracking.
Yeah.
When I look at these things anymore, I'm trying to also look at unintended consequences that may impact other things. I think it's real easy to get tunneled in on one issue and try and fix that, and then you create three more issues in other places. So anyway, I appreciate the report and the work you've been doing. With that, we'll move on to item 4, items for committee members and good of the order. Is there anything to come before the IGR, mayor or committee members? Not seeing anything. Ethan, any?
Yes, I've got two things. One is that just the next dates we have for meetings. So we are scheduled for January 7th for the next IGR committee meeting. And is that, I just want to confirm that everyone's good to have that meeting. What it would likely be is just more updates and prep for then the next meeting would be the 21st is scheduled the work session with council on the IGR priorities and policy document and prep for the session. So just.
So you're saying our meeting is on the 7th and then the work session is on the 21st.
Yes.
7th still, I've got it blocked out for this.
Great. Okay. Just confirming that. And then the only other thing is that Economic Summit, Oregon Business Summit on Monday is in Portland. I'll be attending. Mayor, you're not only attending, you're presenting. And so more information will likely come on out and be shared related to some of the economic development initiatives and permitting regulatory relief that we'll see. So that's about it until January.
Right. Well, if there's nothing more to come before the IGR committee meeting today, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.